Project 9 Server Rules. Power gaming. Maximizing progress towards a certain goal while excluding other parties involved is considered powerful roleplay or power gaming. This includes, but is not limited to, actions that would otherwise be possible for your character in-game. Forcing impossible actions on behalf of other player or non-player characters. Assuming officers have the keys to unlock banks or other robbable sites. Relogging to avoid respawn timer. Key binding/me ties up takes comms and weapons. The in-city functions should allow you to roleplay this out fully without using this method. Players physically have to take phones, radios, and weapons off the player within reason. Players cannot remove PD equipment such as handcuffs, torches, weapons of any kind or handcuff keys. However, players can remove police radios/phones/panic buttons and body cams and trackers. If players do not physically remove these items from the pockets of PD/NHS or firefighters, then they are entitled to activate their panic buttons or be tracked and use any body cam footage that is recorded. PD members must fear weapons being held to them, and if told not to press their panic buttons must fear and not do it. PD members, if body cams are taken, cannot use any footage they may have recorded. However, cases will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis depending on circumstances and weapon-for-weapon scenarios, such as holding a knife to an officer who is armed. Dealing drugs from inside a vehicle or on a bike/motorbike is also classed as power gaming and is against Project 9 rules. Players must be out/off of their vehicle to commence dealing. Weapon play over roleplay. When given the options, roleplay or shoot/stab, etc., the answer to this must be roleplay. Hastily resorting to weapon play will be considered a fail in roleplay. Clips must be provided when reporting this. Breaking character. There shall be no breaking of character at any time. If found going OOC, out of character, then this will result in the warning system being followed. In general terms, out-of-character themes include, but are not limited to, mentioning rules, reporting another player, calling an admin unless your character is stuck under the map. Gov building. In order to use the Gov building, you must use /report within the city. You will then be contacted and brought to Gov if needed. Please do not use Gov building unless a member of staff asks you. If there is an issue within the city which requires the attention of an admin, you must let them resolve the situation. Taking the situation into your own hands in front of the staff will result in the possibility of you receiving a warning/ban. If you are receiving a car, this is not an excuse to stand at Gov building. You will be tagged in your ticket to collect these. Fail RP. We expect you to take roleplay seriously. If you fail to do so, you could be considered failing to roleplay. Roleplay is a mutual experience, and failing to appreciate the experience of other players could result in a failure on your part. Particularly, using in-game mechanics to your advantage while ignoring roleplay rules. Friendships outside of the game do not give you permission to kill each other with no valid reason. Everything must be roleplayed to its full potential or you will receive a warning/ban. This also includes no intent to RP, for example, failing to engage with player and RP scenes. Hiding of vehicles in personal garages to avoid detection by PD is fail RP and will be dealt with under this rule. Streamer friendly. You must always abide by Twitch's rules and guidelines laid out in their terms of service. https://www.twitch.tv/p/n/legal/terms-of-service. When in the presence of other players, always assume that somebody could be streaming unless you have a reliable source to prove otherwise. Please take a second to read the above link for terms of service. PED selection. You are not allowed to select any PED other than free mode when creating a character. Free mode is the customizable PED that you can change to suit your style. All other options are non-negotiably out of question. If your PED creation bugs out, you must do /report in city and staff will help with this. Green zones. Criminal activity is not permitted within green zones. NHS building is a green zone and must be treated as such. This includes everyone in gangs. The NHS car park is included in the green zone. Baiting. You must not call for the police/NHS/fire when you don't require them. This particularly relates to when you are planning to rob, kidnap, or kill them. Repeatedly instigating police officers into a pursuit is considered baiting, and this will lead to jail time in the city and a potential warning/ban. No cop baiting in any form will be accepted. This means everyone. Metagaming. Information gained out of character should not be used to determine your character's actions and/or knowledge. As well as this, sharing out-of-character knowledge via in-game character methods is and will be considered metagaming. This is a bannable offense. All suspicions of meta/stream sniping must be reported in a player report ticket. Clips and solid evidence of this needs to be given at the time. Cheating, hacking, or exploiting. Uncertified access to the server is considered hacking, and using third-party software to obtain an advantage in-game is considered cheating, and abusing the system is considered exploiting. If you report any found exploits immediately instead of abusing it, you could be rewarded, otherwise when staff find out, you will be banned. Do not climb on plants to get to areas you should not be able to access, as realistically, they won't hold your weight. Server restart. The server restart does not give you permission to go on a rampage. As well as this, if you are leaving the server after your session, this is not a valid reason to kill someone. There will be consequences for breaking rules, whether it's 4 hours from restart or 1 minute before. Robberies are to be finished 30 minutes before reset. Voice ID. Players must not be identified by their voice if they are wearing a mask or any clothing which is attempting to cover their identity. This also includes blacked-out window tints if a player is in a vehicle. Voice changers are not to be used mid-scene. You are however permitted to use a voice changer for your character full-time if you wish. Kidnapping. Kidnapping is not permitted unless you have full intent of role-playing it. You cannot take someone to troll them, i.e., make them dance. Kidnapping is fine if there is a storyline behind it with some great roleplay for all involved. Kidnapping police for personal gain, such as your friend/gang member being cuffed and wanting them uncuffed, is not allowed. You must not hold a kidnapped person for longer than 2 hours. They must consequently be released or killed once the timer has reached 2 hours. Robbing. There must be at least 2 minutes of roleplay between the thief and the victim prior to a robbery being completed. If a person has robbed a player, they are not allowed to then kill their victim. This includes robbing a character who is stage 2. This is not allowed, even if you were not the person to kill the victim in question. You must only rob a person with significant RP behind the scene. You cannot rob a player that is stage 2. The only people permitted to access a person's inventory once they are stage 2 is the police for evidence purposes. This can be done at both day and night time. Fake hostage. You must not go up to someone and ask them to be your hostage or have a friend stand in on that. The situation must be role-played fully and the hostage must be taken fairly. Cooldowns. When leaving a whitelist job, if you have been there less than 1 week, you will have a 1-week cooldown where you can't get another whitelist job or join a whitelist gang. Leaving after a week, you will have no cooldown. If you leave a job role in police before 2 weeks, you will have a 2-week cooldown period where you can't get another whitelist job or join a whitelist gang. Leaving after 2 weeks, you will have no cooldown. Spitting. Spitting is not permitted, and is non-negotiably a bannable offense. This includes the act of role-playing your character spitting on another, and also includes verbally making the sound of spitting towards another player. Bags. Bags must be used in a way that makes logical sense. For example, placing a bag on someone purely with the intent of getting away from them or using a bag in a fight scene would be classed as power gaming, as you are abusing the item as the scenario in which you are using. It does not make sense. That being said, an example of placing a bag on someone which makes logical sense in a roleplay scenario would be if you have someone tied up or they have their hands up and have surrendered. Character gender change. You cannot change your character's gender once your character is created. Staff backseating. Do not backseat a member of staff, whether in-game or in Discord. We appreciate all players who care about the community and want to help us out, but please leave this to our staff who have been tasked to take care of situations that occur in-game. If they require help, there are plenty of other staff members they can talk to. Staff are here voluntarily and give up their time. Abuse of staff/owners will not be tolerated. Push-to-talk. You should only use push-to-talk whilst in the city. Using open mic is not permitted. Out-of-character calls. You must not be in any other method of communication with anyone whilst in the city. This includes Discord calls, even muted. Owners and admins are exempt from this, and only in certified Discord, i.e., staff/owners P9 Discord. Whitelist Discord servers. Whitelist jobs and gangs are provided with a P9 server to join upon receiving whitelist status. This server is monitored by minimal gov members who have no conflict of interest with the whitelist job/gangs in question. All whitelist status positions within the city must use Discord servers provided directly by P9 and should not be using any external and/or private servers. If found to be non-abiding to this, the business/gangs whitelist status will be reconsidered. To add to this, personally messaging owners/staff or any higher up of any whitelist job is not permitted. If evidence is submitted of this, then this will be dealt with through the warning system. Personal issues. Talking about other players' real families and situations is not acceptable. Roleplay must not be personal or targeted towards any issues or situations that you may be aware of outside of the game. Sickness and infectious diseases. Infectious diseases, or any form of terminal illness, must not be brought into the city. As per the personal issues rule above, you may not have knowledge of how these outside issues could have affected someone in-game, so it is crucial that they are not brought into roleplay due to the nature of them. Sexual harassment. Unsolicited catcalling, touching or other sexual activity is sexual harassment and will be taken seriously, especially when consistent and when told to stop. This will result in a permanent ban which will not be able to be appealed. Hateful conduct. Hateful conduct is any conduct that promotes, encourages, or facilitates discrimination, denigration, objectification, harassment or violence based on the following characteristics and is strictly prohibited. This includes, but is not limited to, race, ethnicity, nationality, religion, sex, gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, disability, serious medical conditions, community disrespect. Respect must be shown in all situations involving any members of the community. This includes public Discord channels, Twitch, or tickets. This rule also applies to your in-game character. Bullying. Bullying or mocking anyone with a physical or mental disorder is strictly prohibited. Role-playing any of these will result in a permanent ban. Toxicity. If your out-of-character behavior is or appears in a distasteful, hostile, hateful, or abhorrent manner, especially done repeatedly, it will be considered toxic and you will be warned/banned. This also includes when members are in any other person's stream. Anyone found to be toxic within a stream will be dealt with under this rule. Suicide RP. Do not roleplay suicide, terrorism, or any other historical real-world events. Traffic stops. If you do not comply with traffic stops in-game and have no intent to roleplay, this will be classed as a fail RP. An example of this would be at a traffic stop. If you have been pulled over by the police and you drive off as they are walking up to your vehicle with no intent to roleplay or give any interaction at all. Whilst in a traffic stop, you must cut off communication with gangs/friends and do not request others to join the scene that you are currently in. Tasers. When your character is tossed by the police, you must be fully incapacitated after a maximum of 2 taser hits. You must roleplay injuries. If you fail to follow this, then you are both failing to roleplay injuries and failing to fear the tasers. Taking your own life to get away from police. It is against the rules to purposely get your character killed or severely injured to get yourself out of trouble with the police. Prison break. The use of helicopters to break a player out of jail is strictly prohibited. Stealing police equipment. Stealing weapons or equipment of any kind from the police is strictly prohibited due to abuse of police weapons. Stealing from the police armory or evidence locker, whether that be weapons, gadgets, or evidence, can be punishable with a ban. Use/selling of NHS/PD equipment. It is strictly prohibited to sell NHS/PD equipment to other players, and if caught doing so, will be removed from the job and subject to government discipline as well. Whitelist job impersonation. Impersonating police/NHS/fire, whitelist jobs is prohibited. Never use the character clothing/models associated with any of these groups, even if they are available to you in clothing shops or you have found them on the floor. Paperwork evidence. /me is not an acceptable level of providing evidence or paperwork. Police do not have to play along with this. Take the time to create believable documents if this is the avenue you wish to pursue with them. One-of-ones and TEBEX imports. One-of-ones and any vehicle imports are non-transferable. This means you are not permitted to swap or sell vehicles with any other member of the city. These vehicles must adhere to CFX terms and conditions. 1/1 will only be bought into city if debadged and all copyrighted brands removed. GTA driving. The use of ramps and stunt jumps is strictly prohibited and classed as fail drive. Vehicles must not be used on inappropriate terrain. For example, road bikes or cars cannot be driven up or down stairs or on steep ground. Theft of government vehicles. Theft of all police, NHS, and fire vehicles is not permitted unless there is appropriate roleplay behind the theft. For example, if you are being chased by the police and manage to get in one of their cars, you can drive away. But they should not be taken if you are walking down the street and see one parked up. Failure to roleplay injuries. All injuries must be properly roleplayed. Failing to roleplay out injuries from fall damage, physical trauma, and car crashes, for example. All NHS time must be followed through and ensured it is not rushed through. When NHS are on scene, they take full control of the scene no matter how long this goes on for. To add to this, /me, no pulse, etc. cannot be used under any circumstances. This also includes being tossed by the police, where you must be fully incapacitated after a maximum of 2 hits. Failure to roleplay injuries will be punished with a warning/ban. Valuing life. When playing as your character, you must recognize when your life is or could be in danger and act in a way that would protect you from harm. Going against this when in situations of clear threat or injury would mean that you are considered as not valuing your life, which means you have not feared for your life. RDM, Random Deathmatch, and VDM, Vehicle Deathmatch. RDM is a situation where you kill or attempt to kill someone without a valid reason, and this is not permitted. Vehicles being used as a weapon, e.g. hitting someone with a car or kicking somebody while on a bike, is classed as VDM. Both of the above are not permitted and appropriate action will be taken by staff with adequate footage/proof. New life rule. When you have died, this includes your pet remaining alive though NHS declaring your character dead due to mechanism of injury and all stage 2 deaths, you must not use the information leading up to your death as your character will not remember it. This includes reporting the scene to the police, returning to the scene of your death, or actively attempting to get revenge on the other party which resorted to your death. You can only be revived when your character progresses to stage 2 and NHS are already on scene. Do not abuse this by using /me in any way while in stage 2. NHS have full control on your character's outcome based on the information they are given of your character's injuries. You are not able to be reminded of how you died. For example, friends cannot tell you how you died and you cannot use information from Twitter or texts. If you do manage to come across any of this information, you must ignore it completely. This may lead you to question how this rule affects gangs and larger long-term fights. In terms of this rule and how it affects gang wars, when you have died in a current gang war you cannot rejoin it. There is always the possibility that if the fight is at your gang's location that you could get caught up in the scene once again. But in general, you must avoid re-entering the gang war, and it will be a breach of the new life rule if you do actively involve yourself in the gang war after you have died and come out of it. If a player is stage 2, they are under no circumstances to check into NHS to be healed. This is relevant to all players, regardless of their job/role. If your character is killed at a crop, you must not return to the crop in question if killed by another player until the next server restart. Gangs. Non-whitelist gangs are permitted to have up to 8 members. This includes offline players. Whitelist gangs are permitted to have up to 15 members, with all 15 members being able to get involved in one single scene. Players who are part of a whitelist gang cannot also have a whitelist job. Cooldowns also apply to whitelist gangs. If a player is part of a gang for less than 1 week, they will be subject to a 1-week cooldown period in which they cannot join another gang or whitelist job. Gangs cannot team up and work together against a mutual enemy in fights. If a gang member has a second character, only one character can hold a position of hierarchy, regardless of which whitelist job they work. Gang members with second characters cannot join CID or any undercover units. Staff interaction. Staff will sometimes be working within the live server to see to any fixes for any bugs that might arise. They will be identifiable by a certain piece of clothing. If you see a member of staff wearing a staff identifier, please do not interact with them as they will not be available to roleplay as they are completing staff duties. Garages/vehicle modifications. Garages are not permitted to put any weapons mods on any vehicles. This will include the following: oil slicks, guns of any sort, missiles, radar jammers, etc. Anyone found doing this may result in a permanent ban from the server. Police. Police corruption is allowed through serious thought-out roleplay. Deleting of evidence gathered regarding your corruption, i.e., through a MDT, is strictly prohibited and will be dealt with under the warning structure. Within Project 9, locals will receive the same treatment as the player base, where possible. What this means for police when reporting to, for example, suspected drug dealing calls. Police must also take into consideration other people in the area, including locals. Be smart. The player killing locals could get you a murder charge if caught. All vehicle number plates in P9 are able to be picked up by police ANPR even if your car does not have a visible plate. However, police still have to follow the normal rules in identifying the driver/occupants of the vehicle. Warning/ban. The below warning structure is in place for any rule breaks. Staff will have all evidence of rule breaks before dealing with this. Verbal warning given. First warning given. Second warning given. Ban issued. The above is at the discretion of owners and can be changed or adjusted at any time. Anything deemed an instant ban will be dealt with immediately to protect the server and community. Disclaimer. Every single member of the city, whether they are a player, streamer, or staff, must all follow these rules. We reserve the right to revoke any and everyone's whitelist at any given time.